And yeah, we're going to bring the fairness doctrine back to talk radio. They are really desperate. This shows, because from what I've studied, they believe we wouldn't wake up this much. They believe they could use the web, that we'd only care about LeBron James and football and basketball and Tiger Woods, and we wouldn't use the web as a tool against them. Now they see that we have used it, and as Jay Rockefeller said in a Senate hearing, we would have been better never inventing the Internet. So they've clearly made the decision to start shutting it off. And it appears they're going with a bold, quick way to do it. I don't see that going well for them, Alan.
It depends. It hangs really on the U.S. See, most countries have gone through generations of financial depression, like Britain, for instance. Also, they've been overrun by immigrants by design. Tony Blair's aide admitted that in the newspapers, that Tony Blair said that he was going to open the gates of immigration so wide in Britain, with the most diverse cultures, that any semblance of a British identity would be lost and could never be regained forever. That has happened there. So people are apathetic. Many of the immigrants came from countries where there is no democracy as such, and they accept a new totalitarian regime where you do what you're told quite naturally. That's what they're trying to do in the States as well right now. So it depends on how many people within the United States still has enough gumption to stand up and literally by any and all means say, no, we're not going to be your servants and your serfs, and do something about it. It's coming down to that. If it doesn't happen, then you will go into an even more apathetic state as everyone scrapes to get by, to live and survive, and people become more afraid to even speak about anything that's happening.
Well, here's an example of that. The New York Daily News is reporting what sheriffs have told us for 5 years. Mexican drug cartels threaten to harm U.S. police officers who bust drug shipments while off duty. They're already killing cops all over. And so we knew 5 years ago from our sources in the DEA and others that they were training Los Zetas to start killing American cops, and that the New World Order was going to use Mexican muscle to start running mafia tactics. And because there's the language barrier, the average American would allow this to creep up on them. And now this has been done. And here it is in the New York Daily News. I mean, we are really going under a total mafia government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is a style like that. You've also got a terrible problem, too. As society gets more and more degraded and they lose their morality, they lose their ability to all have a common idea of the rights and wrongs within that society. You have a massive problem with cops on the take in all the big cities.
But if you won't take the take, they threaten to kill your family. I mean, and the feds are covering this up and funded this. The CIA is running this. This is the death of America.
It is, actually, it is. And as I say, the U.S. is the only country left, in fact, it's the only country that had an idea of personal freedoms and liberties and so on. No other countries had that. So it all hinges on what happens within America. If they succumb to it quietly, then it's all over. If they make a real ruckus about it and become very adamant and staunch and firm, immovable in their demands, then they may be listened to. And even then, the big boys at the top, who are not stupid whatsoever, will try and find ways around it. It really is that serious, Alex. Within the next 5 years, you won't recognize society at all if it goes any further, because they've laid out their agenda to the totalitarian system that's planned here, a new serfdom. Ration cards eventually will be introduced.
They've announced that under the carbon tax, no matter how much money you've got, you're going to have the ration cards, and then the black market controlled by the government. I mean, it is just racket on top of racket on top of racket, with the set goal of bankrupting everyone, and then they just feed us the culture-killing sludge that's on TV to turn us all into monkeys.
Yes, and also, too, and this rationing that's coming along, they already have a form of this for the wealthy elite themselves, and those who get into politics. You get access to the true natural food and organically grown food that it doesn't even come in contact with the sprayed skies, the chemtrails. They get access to this, and so the goody two-shoes ones will get access to the better rationing. The rest of us will die off with the Monsanto GMO and heavily toxically sprayed stuff. So that's part of the agenda, is to take down society and the numbers within our societies.
And then meanwhile, every day, new major government, industry, university, medical center reports, every GMO food has the side effect, no, that's the main effect, of sterilizing, hurting the rats within 3 generations. They're totally sterile, hair growing out of their mouths, deformed. We see fetal birth weights way down. Fetal birth rates are way up in the United States. The honeybees are dying from it. It's working like a charm. I mean, this is the most psychopathic nightmare system. And the public's defenseless because all they care about is football, baseball, Hollywood gossip, and drinking their sodium fluoride. And those of us that are awake are being listed as terrorists. And the borders are imploding. I mean, it is just, and now they're getting ready for World War III. Your phone call's coming up next with Alan Watts. Stay with us.
Daddy, I'm cold.
There once was a land where the people were very, very free. Energy was cheap and prosperity filled the land. This made some grown-ups very angry, and they wanted to take away our freedoms. So they created a mythical crisis saying CO2 was bad, even though CO2 is what we breathe and it makes the plants grow. In fact, nothing would be green without CO2. And they scared all the children by saying that people doing ordinary things were killing the planet. So they passed a very nasty bill called Cap and Trade, so they could tax us for everything we do, like keeping our houses warm and driving cars. And that's why we can't afford to keep the house any warmer, honey.
Why did they do all this, Daddy?
To stop global warming, honey.
But they really did it because they want to kill that little girl. They don't want her to be born, in their own words. This is eugenics. This is about the globalists controlling society. Some folks took a government-paid-for, high-budget ad that says that bunny rabbits and dogs will drown and die, that they air in Australia, and they made a spoof of what it really means. Alan Watt, again, you understand that this is an incremental scientific dictatorship in their own words, but a lot of times you're a bit pessimistic. Speaking of solutions, before we go to calls, I do see us having a fighting chance. I mean, I really am seeing a massive awakening happening right now. And I think that's why Zbigniew Brzezinski, as you know, about 5 weeks ago, gave a speech to the CFR in Canada, where you live, and basically said for the first time in history, the whole world is awake to us and our world government's in trouble. And that's what their internal documents show. I mean, I don't think they're invincible. What do you think?
They're not invincible. It's the will of the people that's at stake here. And the problem is, and this is what they've discussed at the top themselves in their own books, they work out everything under a warfare strategy. And they've said that if those who are still making enough money to get by and so on, if they are making enough money, they will not join the rest at the bottom. So they're hoping to really segregate society from the haves and the have-nots as they push it further and further and bring up taxes and extra taxes and even value-added taxes. Britain, by the way, has just put up their value-added tax to 20% on every purchase. So they're hoping to do the same thing in America. So those who can keep affording it until it hurts them, they'll tend to neglect those beneath them who are really hurting.
And then the poor will become more vicious and start attacking the middle class, so the middle class will instinctively then kind of team up with the elite, at least in their own minds, when it's the elite that orchestrated the entire program to begin with.
That's right. And what has to happen is, therefore, is that everyone has to have a quick education that it doesn't matter what class you think you belong to and or how well you think that you're doing at the moment. They're going to take the whole system down gradually until you're all serfs, and they get it round to everybody in the end, because there's to be no middle class whatsoever left after this agenda is through. They've said that in all their writings, from Karl Marx right up through the Royal Institute of International Affairs, no middle class will be allowed. This new scientific society, the only replacement for a middle class will be a scientific elite, and that's what we have already. Look who Obama's appointed on all these different panels. He's got more appointees than any previous government. And these guys were all the old hardline scientific socialist type communists that have been helping to write depopulation programs for years.
Oh, there's never been an administration this packed. I mean, they're all saying no Second Amendment, global extermination, one-child policies, eugenics, no free speech. I mean, they're in a group of authoritarian, goblin-like, pot-bellied, jowled, little human-hating trash.
And also what the U.S. and everybody else has to do is to kick off all these people, all these appointees, all these NGO groups that are now appointed to governments. We did not elect them. They have no say over our lives. And therefore they have to be kicked out completely, and government has to be taught. And you know this, Alex. Government's going to, one way or another, government has to be taught, retaught, that they serve the people.